Okay, let's talk about it. Oh my God.
Okay. So we went to the Sorrel-Weed House.
Does anybody know what that is? Don't answer that. You do. You don't.
You do. You don't. I don't care. I don't care. Now you do. You're learning today. So it is located at 6th West Street on Madison Square. And the Sorrel-Weed House is an architectural gem built in the Greek Revival style around 1837 to 1840. It was designed by famed architect Charles Kluski for Francis Sorel, a wealthy French Haitian shipping merchant. The house was later purchased by Henry D. Weed, hence the hyphenated name. So a lot of the houses and famous historical places there are like the people who built it, originated the home, hyphenated with like the current owners.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of them. A lot of the houses are like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole story here. And so Francis was married to a woman named Matilda. It was his second wife. And his first wife was actually Matilda's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And she had died. But by all accounts, Matilda was a refined and respected lady. But her marriage wasn't as pretty as her house was.
Which I didn't think the house was that pretty, if we're being completely honest.
I didn't really either. Nothing crazy. Nothing different than like a Victorian here. Like nothing crazy.
No.
So
sorry, Matilda.
While we're there, we're learning that Matilda, wife, okay. And then there's a enslaved woman named Molly. Molly lived in like another carriage house type situation over here. Francis and Matilda lived over here, had their family, whatever. And Matilda one day is looking for her husband. Can't find him. Let's go ask Molly, because Molly's not only like enslaved, she is kind of like she seemed like she was like their head slave, like right-hand man type situation.
Like she came into the house, she did their laundry, she cooked their meals, she fed him, she dressed him, like all the things.
Yeah, she had her own room in the carriage house. Like the other slaves all had to share. There was like, I think they said like 13. So at some points, at the high points, there would be like 13 of them sharing one story over the carriage house. It was a very small space. But she had her own room off of that. And so Matilda's looking for her husband, goes to ask Molly because Molly should know where he is. He is with Molly doing things
that he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, and it's not really, it's not really sure if it was like wanted advances by Molly. No one really knows that. There's no answer to that. Either way, Matilda runs down the stairs, goes into the house, dives headfirst out her bedroom window. I do believe it was her bedroom window. Into the courtyard. Yeah, into the courtyard that we ended up standing in at the end of the night. So anytime you enter the property, you're in this courtyard, and that's the same courtyard she jumped into. So then I think it's a week later, 2 weeks later.
Just weeks later. Molly
was found dead in the carriage house, but she had hung herself. And it wasn't really sure if both murders were to cover up, or if they were murders, or if they were suicides. And if they were to cover up the scandal or whatever. But at the end of the day, both of them had passed away. And there was no formal investigation ever conducted. So it's just still shrouded in mystery here.
Yeah, nobody really knows. Did she hang herself? Did Francis hang her? Did Francis push Matilda out of the second story building, or did she jump? I think she probably did jump, but I also think that Francis probably killed Molly.
Yeah. The whole time we were there, and they were saying like the Molly thing, and there was one point our tour guide said, "Where's Molly?" And I kept hearing the song Molly. And I was like, motherfucker. But yeah, so I did research on things that they'll tell you and whatever, but we can just talk about it.
Because I have shit to say.
Hell. So we're just going to play off each other here because there's a lot of stuff going on in this one. So the first thing, you're in a courtyard. We're waiting for our tour to start. We did a dark tour. We wanted to do a late night investigation, but they only had 2 spots and there was 3 of us. So the late night investigation, you can actually go in with equipment. They turn all the lights off. It's not like a tour. It's more of like, good luck.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to do, but there was only, 2 and we needed 3. So we didn't do it. We did the latest tour, which was 9:00. It's dark outside. It was actually kind of like lightning. I don't think it really like rained, but it was kind of like stormy-ish outside. And we're waiting in this courtyard and we're waiting under this window. And I just kept looking at it. And I took so many pictures of the window because I totally expected to see
something
there because I just got the vibe. And I was like, damn, tonight's going to be something else. And I wasn't, oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I drank coffee and it's giving me the
heartburns.
Yes. And so I wasn't nervous at all going into this. Clearly Shae's mom was a little anxious. She really was like, do not leave me alone. Yeah. Stand beside me. I don't really want to do this. Like,
she did. She's
she wanted
interested
history,
in it,
but she doesn't want the darkness.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel anxious at all until we got there. And I was like, okay. And even outside, I really wasn't anxious. I was like, yeah, we were kind of messing around. And I was looking up at the window and I was like, just keep looking at it, whatever, nothing of it. Nothing came of it. I just hated that I was drawn to the window. Mm-hmm. So then we get called into our tour. And I'll let Shae like say how she felt too before I say the whole thing. But like we walk into the first room. It's this beautiful green room. It's just got a table in the middle. There's probably like 15 of us on our tour. Mm-hmm. I think it's like 12 or 15 is the max. And our tour guide walks right to the fireplace. We stand right beside her. We want to hear everything, right? Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell you like a single thing she said in that room.
I couldn't either.
Because as soon as we got into that room, I was standing right beside her, you were right beside me, and then your mom was right beside you. And normally when I stand, I just stand. I had my arms crossed and I was going back and forth, like swaying foot to foot.
So
foot to foot.
Was I.
And
bad.
Yes. And in my head, I was like, I am so dizzy right now. But I'm a hypochondriac when it comes to my body and my health. I don't get anxiety about a lot of other things anymore, but whenever it comes, like I get a chest pain, I'm like, heart attack, I'm dying. Mm-hmm. Ankle pain, I have a blood clot. Like I am the extreme. And so whenever I started getting kind of dizzy, I was like, oh, maybe I'm just hot. Maybe I am going to pass out. And I was like, but I don't want to be that person on this tour. So pull your shit together.
Mm-hmm. Get it together.
Sway.
Yeah.
So I started swaying. How did you feel?
So first things first, when you walk off of the sidewalk into the courtyard, it's like, you're shut off from the rest of the world.
Quiet.
It's quiet. It is still. There's nothing. It was the weirdest feeling. And it happened both times that we went there because we went there during the day too.
Yeah, to check on our tour time and kind of just mess around, talk to people.
So then we go into the first room. Like Landrey said, we're standing right next to her. She was standing behind me. I couldn't even see her. She was like to the side of me, but behind me. Couldn't see her really unless I like turned to look at her.
Yeah.
And I was doing the same thing. I had my arms crossed and I was like swaying bad, like big sways. Like it wasn't just like a little bit to like kind of comfort myself. I was like standing there like this.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing.
While she was talking. And I didn't like really realize that I was doing it until halfway through the conversation when she started talking about things that happen to people in this room, which are dizziness, nausea, lightheadedness. And then she literally turned and looked right at us and she goes, and some people will just stand here and sway while I talk.
We were the only people doing it. No one else in the room was swaying like we were. And I was like, oops.
And then I just kept doing it because
I couldn't stop. No, well, I thought I was going to pass out. That's why I was swaying. I was like, okay, if I'm swaying, I'm not stiff-legged. Mm-hmm. And I was dizzy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's like a lighting thing that they do in there, but no one else looked like they were feeling that way.
Yeah.
No one else was swaying like that. Mm. Which half of our group was like these guys that I think were probably like on a bachelor party or something. And so I think that they kind of brought like some sense to the room and some calmness to the room because I was looking at them and I was like, they're not freaking out. Mm-mm. So like we should be good. But yeah, she was like, people feel dizzy in here. And I was like, great. Cool.
That's me.
Yeah. And then go for
ahead.
it.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, she was just talking about like stragglers. She was like, the stragglers will always get like, you'll get feelings. You know, if you want to be the straggler. So there's always a straggler of the group. We were the stragglers. I was like, okay, we're going to stay back and take pictures of everything. And the only pictures I got in that room, they all turned out to be completely blurry.
Mine were also blurry.
And I was like, oh, like I was dizzy in here.
Just in that room. I didn't have any blurry pictures in any of the other rooms.
Nope, me neither.
But she also said that in that spot right where you were standing is a spot that is like a hot spot. And she was saying that usually they'll see like an apparition or something like come from that corner because there was like a door right behind you. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing a video on the Facebook or the TikTok or whatever of they were doing like I don't know if they were doing the
they had the cat ball in there.
The cat ball. And then what's that other thing?
The REM pod?
REM pod. And it was on the side of that fireplace, which is closest to that corner where you were standing, which they were having like interactions with and stuff. So there's that. Number one, keep tally.
That was the first place I'm standing where I shouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm.
So then she says, you know, the stragglers of the group, whatever. I stayed back, right? So then we walk across the foyer and into the men's parlor. And I'm the last one in there, so close the door behind me. I stayed at the door this time. Like, I was at the very back of the group, had my back to the door, kind of standing by the piano. Shae was in front of me. Her mom was to the left of her. Everyone's facing the tour guide. She's like at the front of the room by the fireplace and the mirror. There's a giant mirror.
Huge mirror.
And so I immediately start taking pictures of the mirror before she mentions the mirror later on. But I start taking pictures of the mirror. And then I start getting kind of like a smell in my nose. But I was like, no. But I smell everything. I'm like the most hyper aware nose. Like I said that earlier. Aaron made fish one day whenever I was at work in Fort Worth. He made it at lunch. And when I got home at like 6:30, 7 p.m. at night, I said, you made fish at lunch. And he was like, dude, I had all the windows open. I like turned all the fans on. Like I'm just hyper aware of smells.
Yeah.
And I was getting kind of like a weird smell, but I was like, nah, nothing of it. And then she's like, and some people smell cigar smoke in here. Does anyone smell cigar smoke? And no one said anything. And I wasn't going to be that person. And so I just kind of stayed back.
And she was like, I smelled cigar smoke.
Yeah. I told Shae after that, I was like, yeah. Another weird thing that happened to me in there, and it could just totally be in my head, but I was playing with my hair because whenever I'm a little like, I like twirl my hair. Like you'll see me do it on here all the time. I twirl my hair. My whole family does it. And I was twirling my hair and my hair was like this. It was curled like this. I had my crossbody on and I felt like a tug on the back of my hair, just like a light one, nothing crazy. I just felt like this. And I reached back there and there was just like, I barely had any hair like I do now. And I was like, okay. I just like kept going with it. And then did you have anything other in that room? I mean, I know what I was about to say, like the rest of it, like the pictures she showed us in that room.
Oh my God. Those were disgusting.
She showed us pictures that the tour guide did that other people have taken in that room. And of course, they're by the door.
All of them were at the door.
Into the mirror, and then you can see stuff standing at the door with the door closed. And you can tell that it's like not part of the group. It doesn't like, it looked like a very creepy girl with her eyes wide open, like
very creepy.
Very creepy. And I was like, of course, second room. Yeah, I'm standing right there. And I'd already kind of smelled what she said. And I was like, damn, like, am I really feeling this right now? Am I in my head? But, and there's a lot of times in this whole entire situation that I wished I had said something to you before it happened so that it would have been more validated.
Yeah.
Because I would feel it and then she would say it. And I was like, damn. Like I needed to say it. I needed to say like, yeah, I did just smell something or whatever. Did you have anything in that room?
I didn't have anything in the parlors. I was drawn to the mirrors for obvious reasons. But I didn't have anything in either of those rooms. The only thing that I ever felt in that house was in the
basement,
basement, and then the
first room.
First room.
So, and then in the mirror, one of the mirrors, and I think it was the first parlor room, we took a picture, and it definitely looks like there's like a face in the mirror with us. But I posted it into the Sorrel, and they're like, it's a reflection of the painting in the background. And I'm like, I don't think the face looks the same, but okay. So. We'll post it. It's up to discretion. I just didn't like people being rude. I was like, fine, I'll delete it. Like, I literally was just asking opinions and everyone was like, no, you're wrong. You're dumb. And I was like, okay, rude. Delete.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, it was just rude. And then you go into the women's parlor. I didn't feel anything in there, nothing particular, but there is a really creepy picture that a father took of like the tour group, not the one we were in, just one that had been there prior. Don't ever do it again. I just shit my pants. They're going to watch me jump on camera. I said no.
I'm sorry.
But it's this dad. Well, I'm just thinking of that picture because it's also another very creepy picture. It's this dad took it of his daughters. And when he was going back through the pictures, there's a girl standing between the daughters and she looks like the Grudge.
The Grudge.
Like 1000% looks like the Grudge. And that was terrifying. Ugh. And she showed us the pictures as we're in the rooms. And I was like,
yeah, that was really unsettling.
Yeah. And so you walk out of there and go across the hall into, or do you go, no, you go straight down to the basement.
You go straight to the basement.
But you pass the upstairs. And so like I took a ton of pictures of that because that's really creepy. It's like one central staircase to get up and then it turns into platforms and then you go back up to where you can't see. And so there's dark crevices. So
everywhere.
Didn't like that. but you go straight across the hallway and down a set of stairs into the basement. And as soon as you step stairs on this basement stairs, temperature changes, darkness, light changes, vibe
changes completely.
It even upstairs, I wasn't like super comfortable. I wasn't extremely anxious.
Yeah.
I didn't love the way I felt, but I wasn't like, ugh.
Felt bad.
Yeah. And as soon as you got downstairs, Shae will attest to it. The second I reached the bottom of the stairs, my heart started racing and I put my back against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And Shae saw me do that and she was like, "Oh, Landry's feeling it."
Yeah. I said, "Are you okay?" You were like, "Yeah, I'm good." Yep. I was like, "Okay, cool."
But my heart started. It stopped racing as soon it wasn't the stairs that made my heart race. It was like as soon as I got to the bottom of the steps, I said, "Ugh." My heart rate picked up and I put my back against the wall. And as soon as I put my back against the wall, I was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt okay in that room.
Yeah, because there wasn't anything standing right behind you.
No. And the basement, like when you walk downstairs, the basement is one giant room, but the stairs separate the room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's another half of the room that's kind of closed off by doors, but there's two main rooms that are like the biggest space in the basement, and they're not closed off really from one another.
They're open. They're just separated by a staircase.
Yeah. So in the first room, when you get down to the basement, when you turn that way, there wasn't really any stories really going on in that room. It was just kind of like a central gathering space before you go to the other half of the room. And I felt weird, put my back against the wall. And then, but not weird enough to where I was still the straggler. Mm-hmm. Like whenever we walked to the next room, I still stayed back to take pictures and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that was weird is there is a set of French doors and they have curtains. So like you can't see beyond them and it's dark and it's black. And so when we were walking by them, I thought I saw like the shadow, like straight up just a shadow of a man standing in the corner of the room we had just been in the reflection. I stopped and stared and I still saw it and I walked off and then I went back and I still could see that same shadow. But when you would look over there, you couldn't see it. And I was like, I guess no big deal, whatever. Didn't like it, but like it didn't make me feel super unsettled to where I was like, let's go, girls. Like I still stayed at the back of the group, but we're standing there and she's telling us, I don't even know what she's talking about. Because I was in my head paying attention to everything around me. Couldn't really tell you what the tour guide said at this point. I can tell you a little bit like later on in the whatever, but in those rooms, I don't know what she said.
When we first came down the stairs, the temperature changed, the lighting changed. My mom's mood changed. Yours changed. I felt a little bit more anxious. It was so dark down there. And everything is like backlit with like red lighting just to keep it dark, I guess, down there. Which, I mean, it's dark outside too. And there's windows like to the courtyard. Like it's not like basement.
It's just lower level.
Level.
The windows are kind of like up.
They're like in line with the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And so we did the first when we first came down the stairs, and then we kind of went underneath the staircase around it to the next side of the basement, where she started talking about the shadow man and the hallway that he would stay in and blah, blah, blah. So she starts talking about this shadow man.
After I saw shadow man.
After the fact, yes. So I'm standing like directly in line with the staircase, the back of the staircase. My mom is standing to my left behind my shoulder, very close. Landry was standing directly to my right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so my mom's like kind of like catty corner behind me. There's nobody else behind us. Everybody else is like in the room. We're like on the far side of it. And I'm standing there and I'm swaying and I'm just kind of like, again, I couldn't tell you anything that she was saying because I just was like, this is just so creepy down here.
And our backs were the most open to the other room we just been in.
To the other room.
We stayed further enough back
open
to where we were the only people like that. And we're the only people who had like our backs exposed. Everyone else kind of had walls around them.
Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, my mom freaks out, not like out loud to like disrupt anything, but she like grabbed me by my shoulders and like pulled me in front of her to where she was standing. And like behind, she was going, nope, nope, nope. And like whipped around me to be next to Landry, like kind of by where Landry was standing. And, oh, it's raining.
Yeah.
And as soon as she did that, and I turned and I said, are you okay? She said there was something standing right fucking behind me. She was like, there was something behind me. And so when she whipped around me, I just felt this like energy just like go right past me, and like my ears like closed in, you know, like when you're about to like pass out.
They get quiet.
And they get quiet and like everything gets muffled. It was like a split second, literally. It was like literally it just went right past me or through me. Don't know. Did not like that.
Yeah.
Did not like that at all.
They both got unsettled and I could see it. But I kept looking behind us the whole entire time we were standing there. That's the tour guide. Me and you both were looking at the exact same corner. I have no idea what the tour guide was saying because I kept looking into that room. I was looking at the corner that I saw something in, and then I was looking at the corner where the door that we eventually walked out of. But it was mainly the door that we walk out of that I kept turning around and looking at, and then I could see you looking at it, and then just look at it again. Just
constantly being drawn to whatever it was that was behind us. And then all of a sudden my mom was like, I can feel something standing right behind me. And she just whoop, and then I felt it go whoosh.
Yeah. And I could see their discomfort, and I was like, next room, please.
Yeah. And so thankfully we were only there for like another like 5 minutes, and then we went into the laundry room, which the energy changed a little bit in there. Not the way she said. She said that it like usually gets like a more like fast paced type of energy feeling, like hustle and bustle. Yeah, I felt less.
I felt lighter.
Yeah.
I felt a little bit lighter. I didn't feel as like heavy.
And I could smell the detergent.
Yeah. I felt like I couldn't breathe in there, but that's literally because it's so stuffy. Musty.
It was very musty and stuffy in there.
And I have really bad asthma. So my lungs close up instantly. The only thing that when I was in that room is I was getting a really bad pain in my lower back, just on one side.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, it's fine. It's just from like, and I think I said it when we were in there. I was like, damn, my back hurts, man.
We've been walking all day.
Yeah. And I was like, it's just from walking. I've, like I said, poor shoe choice. I have really bad arches and I have scoliosis. So I was like, it's just, you know, whatever, it adds up. Nothing really happens in that room. There's no like, you're standing in the wrong spot in this room. None of that. Go into the next room. And she's like, this is the doctor's room. This is where people feel pain.
Which I was so excited about.
But she's like, this is where people feel pain. And if you leave this room and don't feel pain anymore, guess who didn't feel pain anymore after we went in that room?
Yeah.
I was like, awesome, cool.
And you were standing like right by the couch that she was talking about too.
Yeah, we walk in and I actually didn't stay at the back of the group this time. I like moved up and over and there was a couch and I just like kind of, I didn't sit on the couch. I got near the couch and I thought I felt something touch my legs, but I was like, maybe it's just my jacket because I had my jacket tied around my waist. And so I thought, and me and you talked about it because I was like, oh my God. And you're like, and we were standing right beside, I mean, you were barely a little bit ahead of me, but I had my jacket around my waist. So I even like felt where my jacket would touch lowest on my legs. And I was like, okay, whatever, no big deal, whatever. Like I was talking myself into like, you're in your head even before she said any of this. So then felt that Shae felt something. And then she was like, so that couch has the most activity and normally you'll feel someone like touching your lower legs, your ankles. And I was like, why am I standing here again?
Every time.
Like every room we're in, I'm standing in the wrong spot. And I'm feeling something in every room. But that was the doctor's office. And that's where someone said they felt there was like a tour guide, not any of our tour guides, but off one of the shows that she will not even go in that room anymore because it felt so dark. She felt like she got stuck in that room. I didn't really feel that dark. I didn't feel that heavy in that room. I was kind of nervous about the wheelchair moving, but like outside of that, I didn't really feel dark or heavy in that room.
I didn't feel dark or heavy in that room. I was expecting to feel very comfortable in that room because he was a doctor and it was like medical and he had like all of his old like they had a bunch of old like trauma kits in there, which was really cool to see, like from Civil War times, and they performed amputations and bullet retrievals and all kinds of stuff in that tiny little space. My God. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll either one, like feel really comfortable in this room, or two, like there will be a lot of energy for me in this room. Just because I know what that energy feels like. It's very specific, but I felt pretty like neutral in there. Which was good, except for the little like brush on my ankle. And it literally just felt like a hair, like a little wisp. Yeah. But that was it.
That's exactly how mine felt as well. But I didn't feel dark. I was expecting to feel dark in there. And then after that, we basically went outside and we went up to the slave quarters. I didn't really feel, they said a lot of people feel very dark in the slave quarters and uncomfortable. I felt fine in there as well.
I felt fine in there.
I felt pretty comfortable, but I kind of think it's whatever energy you're carrying into certain rooms like that, like respectful energy.
Yeah.
Like we respect the history and how it all works and all of that. And so I don't think we should necessarily, like, I don't feel like we would be like a target.
Right. And I don't think that it would be like, I wasn't expecting it to be like a dark energy. I was expecting it to be more like a sad, heavy energy up there. And I mean, it was, like you said, it's just depends on how you carry yourself in situations. And so very small quarters. Her room was cute.
Yeah. Your mom didn't really want to go in her room. Your mom didn't.
Yeah, she was like, no.
Yeah, she didn't really feel right about it. But I just didn't like that every room we went in, I was standing in the wrong spot. But the room that I actually felt probably the most uncomfortable and like get me out of here was probably the first room. The first room was the room that I was like, maybe I'm not built for this tour. Like, maybe I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
And everything else was just like, that was weird.
Yeah. I really would have liked to have done
the
investigation tour.
Yeah.
But fear not, we will be going back because I have to go back immediately. Ever since we've been home, I'm like, every single day, I'm like, I miss Georgia. I miss Savannah. I miss Georgia.
It was a trip that neither of us, like, you know, you're at the end of a trip and you're like, I'm ready to go home. We didn't feel that way. Not even a little bit.
Sisters of the